recently made the V-neck home sweater by Caidree, and my sister liked it so much that she asked me to make one for her in exactly the same color. I'm done making the back panel and the front two panels, and now it's time to join everything together and just knit in the round for the body. So I have finished knitting the back panel, which is just straight stockinette. I have done the front two panels, which have some German short rows and some shaping. And now I've joined them all together. And it's time for the fun part. Just knitting in the round for the body construction. And this is the perfect time to knit and chat. So my first introduction to knitting was in 2020 during the lockdown. And I did basic stockinette, basic garter stitch. I practiced some cables, and that was the extent of it. I didn't go beyond knitting swatches. In the beginning of 2025, in the beginning of this year, I challenged myself. I said, I have to learn how to knit a sweater. Well, I didn't just knit a sweater, I knit 4. The V-neck sweater is my 4th sweater. There was also a failed sweater in between that we'll talk about. So the first sweater that I ever knit was the Dartmoor sweater by Caidree. It's an oversized drop shoulder sweater. So you first knit the back panel, and then you do the front two panels, join it all together, and just knit in the round for the body, and then pick up stitches for the sleeves, the neck ribbing. Now, the interesting thing about this sweater is you first knit an I-cord, and then you pick up stitches for the back panel from the I-cord, and then you pick up stitches for the front two panels from the I-cord, and then you're left with a beautiful I-cord detail at the back. Now, knitting this sweater was a masterclass in itself because there were so many techniques that I was learning for the first time ever. It was my first time learning to knit the I-cord. It was my first time learning how to do a provisional cast on. I learned how to do the German short rows. So it was a really exciting project for me. I don't have that sweater to show you at the moment because I gifted it to a very close friend of mine. The second sweater that I knit was the Drop in Dream sweater by Piro. The best thing about this pattern was she also has a video tutorial to go with it. That was extremely helpful, and she's very patient and she's an extremely good teacher. Now, the only thing was I found extreme similarities in the first sweater that I had done, which was the Dartmoor sweater, and the second sweater, the Drop in Dream sweater. Very similar construction where you first knit the back panel with the German short rows, and then you do the neckline shaping with the front panel, and then you join it all together, knit in the round, 1 by 1 ribbing. Very, very similar construction. So I literally thought I was knitting the same sweater again. So just to add a twist, I knit some cables on the sleeves. I added a cable detail on the sleeves. I wanted to do a left knee leaning cable on the left sleeve and a right leaning cable on the right sleeve, but I'm so used to doing the left leaning cable that I ended up doing the same on both sleeves. I did a C6F on both of my sleeves. Still, it looked amazing. And I also made the ribbing on the lower edge and on the neckline a little shorter. I didn't make it 2 inches long or whatever was required or whatever was recommended in the pattern, just to add a little change because they were so similar in the way they were constructed in the pattern. The third sweater that I knit was also a pattern by Piro. It's called the Mellow Mood Sweater. Now, this had a different construction than the previous two sweaters that I had knit. So for this particular sweater, you start at the neckline, you knit the yoke and the raglan. There's this beautiful raglan design, and then you separate the sleeves and the body. Then you go on to knit the body and then the sleeves. So one, it had a different construction. Secondly, it had a beautiful raglan pattern which goes on the side of the body of the sweater. So I thought that was really beautiful. I think it's the most gorgeous and unique sweater that I have knit so far. Plus, you have the video tutorial to go with it, so it's super helpful. Piro has also released a Mellow Mood summer top, which is a t-shirt version of the exact same sweater. So I have purchased that pattern as well, and I'm planning to make that in the summer. So there was one pattern that I was working on. This would have been my fourth sweater. And there was no fault in the pattern. It was, again, a very basic top-down sweater with 1x1 ribbing. It just had a really nice intricate cable detail on the raglan, and I just wanted to experiment. I thought, I'm making all these sweaters with very basic construction. So my first experiment was on the bottom edge of the sweater. I added a lace, and somehow it just wasn't going. It just did not look good. The second experiment was, instead of doing a 1x1 rib like the pattern called for, I did an I-cord bind off because, well, I had never done an I-cord bind off, so I wanted to practice it. I was just curious how it would seem. So first of all, it took forever. The I-cord bind off took forever to do. It took forever to make. And again, it just was not going well with the entire look of the sweater. Third, I used 100% merino wool. And at the time, I didn't realize that using merino in itself really stretches out after blocking. And this was already an oversized pullover. I didn't even complete the sweater. I didn't even bother to pick up stitches for the sleeves. I just gave up. I frogged it. I gave up, and maybe sometime in the future. But at that time, it just got really frustrating. And so I left that sweater. No fault of the pattern. It was an absolutely good, normal, perfectly nice pattern. And then the fourth sweater, which is the V-neck home sweater by Caidree again. So this was my first V-neck sweater. That was fun, to learn the double decrease to make the V-neck. That was really cool. It was my first time doing the Italian bind off. And I had seen people on YouTube saying that the Italian bind off takes forever to make, and, but it's worth, it's really worth the time. So first of all, I did not feel like it took me forever. It was actually kind of fun. I enjoyed it. And secondly, after doing the Italian bind off, it's not like I would now only choose the Italian bind off. I would be absolutely okay with doing the regular bind off. It's fun and it looks gorgeous, but it's not like this is the end deal for me, So for the V-neck sweater that I made for myself, I used acrylic yarn and merino, fine merino. So I combined one strand of acrylic and one strand of fine merino. I used a pair of 7mm knitting needles. And because I ended up with a higher gauge, I made a size small for myself. And actually, I'm really happy with the fitting. It gave me the perfect amount of ease. It's airy, it's flow, it's perfect. For my sister here, I am using just one strand of acrylic yarn and I am knitting a size extra small for her. There's a huge size gap between us. I really hope I can finish this sweater by Christmas. That would be nice to gift this to her on Christmas. I purchased a few patterns from Petite Knit and I'm planning to make them in the coming year. I think I have 4 patterns. There's the no frill sweater, the storm sweater, the Monday sweater, and the cumulus blouse. I'm quite excited to be trying Petite Knit's patterns because there's just so much talk about how, you know, her patterns are really easy, really basic. And I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm trying to stick to acrylic yarn at the moment because it's a lot cheaper than the other yarn. And I feel like I am still in my beginner knitting phase and I don't want to spend too much on yarn when, you know, a project can easily go wrong. Maybe when I consider myself to be more pro and advanced, maybe then I can switch to maybe more higher luxury brands of yarn. If I thought that crochet had taught me patience, knitting is another level of patience. I can still expect to finish a crochet sweater within 10 to 15 days. But knitting a sweater, boy oh boy. So far, my average time span has been about a month to a month and a half to complete one sweater. I think the quickest I've made a sweater is my V-neck sweater. The day when I started knitting this sweater to the day I completed it, exactly 22 days. I made note of it. But you know what? Even though it takes so much of time, it is so totally worth it. The satisfaction I get from knitting, it just cannot be described in words. And to wear a finished garment that you have made yourself, joy and happiness of another level. This has been so much of fun, just talking about my work in progress. I've never done this kind of stuff before. I usually just post crochet tutorials and I'm usually behind the camera. This is my first time being in front of the camera. Well, I did try one video before, but through the thumbnail, you wouldn't know that I'm actually in the video. I guess it's my introverted nature. And sometimes we develop some irrational fears in our mind. Fear of being seen, fear of expressing ourselves. I hope in the coming year, I can face this fear. I hope to bring more content where you get to see me and I get to show you what I'm working on. And I hope we can have more episodes where we can knit and chat together.